Alright, so we're here in my studio, and this has been stripped down to, I'll show you in just a second, a basic laptop, you know, that is the laptop, a microphone, keyboard and a mouse, and everything else you can see here is in a box and suitcases, briefcases, etc. And that is primarily because I'm looking at moving very soon, and the studio that I had set up in here, which you'd know if you've seen my channel before, was pretty good. I had a fair bit of equipment, but I just wanted to show you how you can achieve the same kind of thing in the box with minimal stuff. Play the track to you, let's go. So that's the track. It's pretty much a basic beat there. It doesn't have any vocals on it or anything like that. So I don't know if this is up your alley as far as the fact that it's it's just instrumental. But anyway, hopefully it'll teach you something, because there are some key things about these sort of scenarios that everyone can get something out of. I'm sure I watch videos like this for a long time as well. So let's go for the mastering chain. I'll show you kind of what I would normally suggest, what I use, and kind of how I achieve my masters when I do them, and what I do. So first off, the plugin chain here, you can see there's a fair few plugins on this already, and some of them I'll just first off say I mix into them. I don't necessarily have them on at the end, like I don't slap them on right at the end. I mix into these plugins, and what I mean by that is, whilst I've got my my tracks and I'm working on them, I'll generally build the track up first before I put any plugins on. I don't necessarily put anything on while I'm building the track. But once I get the full kind of sound that I want for the track, you know, like generally anyway, I'll throw on my limiter and a compressor. Most of the time, those two things, generally the limiter's on pretty close to the start. It's not like not near the, it's not near the end sort of thing. It's generally at the start-ish. And that's generally to stop the peaks or the overs. So I have a limiter here which I'm using. This is the PSP Xenon, and that's kind of one of my favorite limiters for mastering. It's just a good limiter. It's easy to use. It's low CPU usage. It's very clear, clean, and it doesn't affect anything too much. But if you don't have that limiter, there is the Ozone limiter, which is absolutely, if not better than this limiter in some ways, because it has so many different features. Let me just pull it up and show you. So, well, look, I'll just go for the actual full Ozone plugin. This is kind of what you'd see anyway if you're using the standard version, so let's just use this for the sake of it. So the limiter there, you can see it's got all these different functions as far as limiting modes, and I don't know for sure, I can't remember if the limiter modes go up once you get to the advanced version. I think they do from memory, but even if they don't, have all of these are really, so many of these limiters, these styles limiting, are just handy to have on different sort of tracks. So it's definitely a useful plugin there. So that's Ozone 8, or Ozone 9 is right now. So if you want to check out that, I think that's the current version. There are probably updates every year. So it's sort of just, they keep bringing out more and more new advancements in this product. This is Newfangled Audio. This is a saturate/clipping plugin that I use pretty regularly. I used to use a lot of the UAD stuff, but I sold that UAD Apollo that I had, so I had all my plugins connected to it, and I figured I would download, eventually I'd get the other Elysia Master compressor. I actually would like to get the hardware version of it, to be honest, because I've used the plugin so many times. I'm just so used to it, and I love the plugin, and I can only imagine how good the hardware is. But it's 10 grand. Anyway, so the reason why I like that hardware is because it has a clipper on it, and this is kind of why I'm using this clipper to sort of, you know, emulate same kind of things. It's not as good, but it's close. It's just different. So clipping is kind of one of the things I use to master, and I use this to drive the audio source plus clip it, which you would get some of that in analog anyway. So I'm trying to emulate the snipping of the tops of the transients, and also just the sound of saturation on that. So that's my first plugin. That's in no particular brand. I'm sure you can find 100 different saturators slash clippers out there. There's, you know, multiple different brands. I might cover that in another video actually. So the next plugin there is the Ozone plugin. Again, this is because it's advanced. I've separated it, but it's just the EQ. And the thing I like about this is it's got this pink noise capture section. So if I go to the loudest part of my track where I know there's going to be a lot happening, I'll just go hit for capture. So you can see right away it's reduced out a lot of the lows. It's put a bit of highs in there just to even out the track to make it sound a little bit more clearer in clarity, etc. That's just so handy. I just love this plugin for that reason. It's really useful. And then you can obviously go in there and just adjust your EQs to taste if you want to reduce some of that highs, or if you just want to, you know, it's up to you what you want to do there. But that is so handy to have this plugin, and you can use that in the standard version as well. I did that for many years. So the next thing here is the imager, which again is in standard. So Ozone 9 now, I guess, they have this as well. So you can, you know, reduce your frequency, I guess, to mono if you want in the low end, and then vice versa if you want to get more of a spread in the highs. You've got that available to you as well. So that's the next plugin that I use a lot of. This is probably, I'd say it's one of my more favorite EQs generally. Just because of the fact that it's so clean, clear, everything you can do in here. It's just so many bands, you can just literally do a lot of stuff. It's got dynamic EQ as well. So you've got so many things to your little toolbox there. And the thing I like to use this for is either zero latency mode or linear phase. Natural phase, it really depends on what you're working on, but for mastering I'd go linear phase generally, or zero latency, and they kind of work the best for this scenario. Well, as you can see, that's what I've been using here. And then I kind of just use the EQ to reduce some of the sides, and you know, that's just an EQ. That's kind of how that works. The next plugin then you would see is the tape saturation. So this is the plugin I was talking about in the comments. I like tape, and I was referring to that when I said tape saturation. I meant vintage tape, same deal. So I like this plugin a lot because it has 3 modes of tape, so 7.5, 15 and 30. It really just cuts out some of the highs when you go to 15, even more on the 7.5. You got a lot of nice high-end frequency still left at the 30 IPS, but this has a really nice mode where you can just add highs, emphasize the lows, harmonics, bias, which allows you to reduce high and low. Well, not so much high and low, but the low end frequency. It kind of changes the bias of that. That's the tape bias, by the way. So that's what that's kind of emulating. And it's just a really good sounding plugin. It allows you to compress the sound a little bit, just bring your glue into your mix that you kind of chase. So I'll show you all of these, and as well I'll show you how loud this mix is without all these plugins on, so you understand. So this is probably one of my favorite limiters for a long time. It kind of just, I don't know, I think I saw it one time on a mastering, one of these mastering engineers was talking about it, and this is years ago, and I just got addicted to this limiter, and it's just got this sound to it. It has no sound to it really. That's why I like it. It's very clean and clear. It's quite an interesting limiter. It's not like the L2 by Waves. The L2 is very distinct. I feel like that's a nice limiter as well. It's just, it's got its own sound, whereas this is quite clear when you put it on. So let me just take these plugins off and show you how loud this is without any of these, so you can kind of get an idea of how I go about it. So you can kind of see here, and this is kind of why I wanted to show you, because it's minus 15 or minus 16 dB in gain. So you can see how much these are actually making up. So if I just add this newfangled audio, So you can see I'm making up a lot of gain with this plugin just by itself. And it's not actually clipping a whole lot, so I'm using it primarily just to gain some drive and the volume. And if it does so happen to hit the clipper, then it's obviously going to clip those in the clipping stage there. Obviously you'd manipulate this a little bit more if you want to clip it, but I like kind of the vibe that it gives. It just really settles in the track how I wanted it. It increases the volume for me, so I obviously get some leveling there. But then, you know, the next phase is if I just put this EQ on here, you can hear exactly all of these are doing basically nothing until it gets to the limiter. So these are all just steps in towards the mastering. The main two things that are increasing the volume is my clipper and then the final thing here at the end. So I'm really driving into these plugins using this clipper, as you could see there. And like I said, I could use the Ozone maximizer if I wanted to. Look, it's just as good as this one. I don't need to worry about, you know, just having this brand. I'm just saying this is the type of brand that I particularly use sometimes for my mastering. So if you're looking at different mastering plugins, to be honest, it doesn't take a lot to get a good master. It is somewhat about just having a good mix in the first place. And that all comes in time. Like, you just have to learn how to get the sounds mixed into your tracks. When it comes to mastering, a good plugin that like you were suggesting, Ozone is a good plugin because it has that mastering assistant on there as well. So you can get to learn kind of what it's doing, and it's not exactly perfect, but it gives you a good indication of where you should kind of aim for and what it's trying to achieve, and you know, the loudness and all that sort of stuff. It has the ability to adapt. So it's just a generally good plugin. It's something that you should look into for sure. I would suggest if you're going to select one plugin out of all the plugins that exist, my personal opinion is Ozone, because that's what I started on when I was first starting out, and it achieved the results that I wanted to get. So I feel like it's just a good plugin to start on the right track with. So anyway, hopefully this is of some help to you. If it is, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, make your comments down below. I'll try and address anything else that I have or any other videos. Make comments on if you have it. If they're decent comments, I'll answer them. Yeah, we'll go from there. So catch you on the next one. Peace out.